Alrighty, guys. Hello and welcome back to the show. Cast coming your way on Neroxus map generator. This is going to be a Fong game. If you're not familiar with Fong, he's a pretty cool dude in the FAF community. Hosts these games where all are welcome, and literally all are welcome. Usually runs on Neroxus map generator with some really cheeky title. And this one, I think it was, and Neroxus separated the spammers from the Nexus and saw that it was good, or something like that. So I'm not 100% sure the client was blocking some of the title, but anyway, I'll drop the replay ID down there if you guys want to go see it. It's pretty funny. So let's go ahead and introduce our players. Lots of mass on this map. Team 1 up at the top, Team 2 down at the bottom. Starting off for Team number 1, we have the man himself, Fong. Going in the rear guard air position for team number 1, and he's got first land, getting to work on some mexes, ringing or setting up his initial air factory, I would imagine. The highest rated player on team number 1 there at 1600. Moving on to Ninrai, going Aeon, opening first land as one of the forward land players, the northernmost forward land player, going first land. His teammate down at the bottom is Raytheon, who's going Seraphim, opening first land as well. Lowest rated player there for team number 1, down at 300. So whenever Fong says all welcome, he literally means all welcome. Down to Raytheon South, we have Kramer, who's going Cybran, opening first land. I think we've seen him in some casts too. And last but not least, for team number 1, we have the Chancellor himself, who's going Aeon, opening first land. We'll see if the Chancellor has any real power, or if he is just a puppet for the bureaucrats, and a lowly senator from Naboo will have to step up and take the power from the Chancellor. Star Wars reference, if you guys don't know. Moving over to team number 2, in the rear guard air position, we have Le Sauce, or Lee Sauce, if you're going for the American pronunciation, because we are American, or at least I am American. We got UEF going first land, second air, pretty standard air build order. To his west, where is the commander? There it is, in the base. We have XXAFKXX with a bunch of dashes in there, is the southernmost land player for team number 2, going first land, second air as the Seraphim. In the middle position, we have Porter 57, who's going Aeon first land. To his north, we have got Estekis. I'm not 100% sure how I pronounce that. Going Seraphim, opening first and second land. And last but not least for the game, we have Mochulal. Seen him quite a few times. Going as the UEF, going land all day, it would seem, with his commander already walking his way out towards the middle of the map. So we'll zoom out a little bit, give you guys a good look at the reclaim. So we do have some reclaim here concentrated in the middle, along with these two mexes. These are mostly going to be bigger rocks, with a lot of reclaim sprinkled around the sides. So a pretty good amount of reclaim just all around the board. Each player is going to have access to, it looks to be 8 to 10 mexes if you're in the middle, and then if you're on the side, it looks like you're going to have a little bit more, maybe 10 to 13 mexes. So decent mex count for every player is kind of a guaranteed amount. And then of course, as the battles erupt, we'll see the fight of control over these mexes start to take shape. Ratings on team 2, which I didn't really talk about. We have Porter 57 at 700, lowest rated player. And then Lesauce and XXAFK are going to be your highest rated players for team number 2 at 1400, with Mochulal at 1300. So 7, 800 to relatively lower rated players, and then 13, 14, 14. So a little bit more condensed rating spread there for team number 2, whereas team number 1 has Fong, Chancellor, and Ninrai up above 1,000, Kramer at 1,000, and then Raytheon being the Joeyest of the Joes down there at 300 rating. So T2 on the way now from Mochulal, and we also have a drop out here from Lesauce, and Lesauce is going for some of these mexes on the outside. Wants to get a little bit more mass into his coffers as the air player. Fong, with a similar idea, just dropping a different area, is actually dropping the middle. So 2 mexes there, going into Fong's control, and Fong looks like he's actually going to set up maybe a little bit of a land presence as well in the center. as far as Tech 1 land, or going to be making some engineers to grab some of this reclaim. So we'll see what the overall game plan is there. But as far as overall mechs count for the air players, got to give the edge to Lesauce right now, as he's dropping for 3 additional mexes instead of the 2 that Fong dropped for. And actually, I take that back. Fong is actually hijacking some of Raytheon's mexes here. So Fong actually going to have an advantage in the mass game, at least early on. See how much of that, or if any of it, goes into Tech 1 land to kind of fight it out here in the middle. I do believe that, well, this actually might not be traversable. This looks to be a crater that is not accessible by anything other than air, unless there's a sneaky ramp here or something like that that I'm not seeing. But first couple of little raiding parties coming out. Mochula with some Tech 1 tanks. Gonna bag himself some of Ninrai's engineers there on peaceful reclaiming missions. Just viciously murdering innocent civilians. That's what the UEF do, though. Especially with their whole Black Sun initiative. I don't know how many people actually know the story of Supreme Commander. Kind of through the first game, Fortune Alliance, and then Supreme Commander 2. Maybe I'll do, like, might be a fun video, do kind of a supercut of the different cutscenes, and then walk through kind of the lore around Supreme Commander. Because it is an interesting story. And I think a lot of us that have played Fortune Alliance forever maybe never played the campaign, or it's been years since we played the campaign, so that might be a fun little video. But gun speed and range on the way for Kramer. And gun speed and range also on the way for Esquez. Gun speed and range on the way for Raytheon. So everybody's getting their little commander upgrades here as the chessboard gets set with the pieces. But nothing more than little skirmishes happening for now, as some of AFK's units AFK their way into Kramer's Tech 1 units there. Chancellor going heavy into Tech 1, it looks like. So 3 land factories forward, and he's got a couple more land factories that are dotted around the map. So that's going to be 6 land factories, at least for Tech 1 total. Commander pretty far forward with the vanilla comm for now, though. Putting some pressure on Lesauce, and Lesauce actually going for his own little Tech 1 manufacturing facility here, getting some tanks on the field. Maybe he doesn't trust AFK to, well, be at his keyboard. So going for some Tech 1 manufacturing of his own. I think that's going to hurt him a little bit in the long run in the air game, though, but we'll see. And nano repair now coming in for Esquez on that Seraphim commander. Yeah, since my break, I've started seeing a lot more comm upgrades coming in. It used to be you just kind of go for your gun upgrade and then raw dog your way through the whole early part of the game, and then maybe pick up something else later, like a nano repair or shield or something like that. But starting to see even, and it was usually only the pros that did that. Now we're starting to see, though, even players that are considered Joes, or even some pretty Joey Joes with Esquez at 800, starting to get some more expensive comm upgrades, buffing out their commanders with a little bit more of that juice. Maybe that sauce. It's not le sauce. It's Esquez sauce, not le sauce. And I'm not going to pronounce Esquez's name correctly the entire time. I'm pretty sure. I know there was a cast recently where I was adding like a syllable to somebody's name. A bunch of people were like, "You mispronounced that name." I was like, "Yeah, but it was way more fun the way I was saying it. We're here to have fun. We're not here to pronounce people's names correctly." Some other casters, whenever they would cast me, would just call me Dooley instead of the Duelist. I am the Duelist, after all. You can't just call me Dooley and make me sound like I'm some F-350 souped up from the South. I am from the South, I'm very proud of it, but I don't drive an F-350. Something I should probably do. Gun damage and range, though, on the way for Lesauce now, as I digress wildly. Who's under a good amount of land pressure here from the Chancellor. Chancellor still with a relatively vanilla commander. No vet, no nothing else. So Chancellor's going to have to upgrade that gun comm a little, or upgrade that commander a little bit if he wants to punch into Lissos, or he's going to have a lot of Tech 1 units, which he does have a lot of Tech 1 units, but he'd probably feel a little better with the comm upgrade, and that's where we start seeing that gun speed come in. I'm sure gun range is going to come after. Enhanced gun range, y'all know the drill on the Aeon side. Gun speed also coming in from AFK. Nano repair starting to finish up, and Fong are cleaning up some of Esteque's units here on the front line. So Fong getting very active with this comm here. Probably because he's covering a little bit here for Raytheon, who, while Raytheon is a very well-known military industrial complex manufacturer, probably is a little bit more familiar with the technology from 2024 than from 2500 or whenever the Forge Alliance lore actually happens. And actually we're seeing tactical missile come out from Mochulal. So gun, Tech 2, and then tactical missile. Interesting combination. It's going to allow him to spit out these tactical missiles at a very high rate, as the Tech 2 upgrade does affect how quickly your commander can build those tactical missiles. Also gives him a little bit more HP, protects him from snipes, etc., because he's probably going to want to be a little bit further forward with his commander to get those tac missiles out. We can go ahead and select him real quick so you guys can see what kind of range we're looking at. It's this outer yellow ring is the range of his tactical missile launcher that he has on his commander. So going to be getting into range of at least some mexes, Fong's commander. We do have a whole little forward manufacturing base here for Ninrai that is threatened, and if he goes a little bit further north, he could get a Tech 2 radar system as well as some more mass. There is also a couple of other mexes that are unscouted / unbuilt that'll also be in his realm of influence with that TML. So we'll keep an eye on that in the on kind of the mini map, but I'm sure he'll just walk forward with his commander, start launching missiles, and mexes will go down, and Ninrai will be sad as it kind of goes. But Chancellor now gearing up, does have gun speed and range upgraded on that Aeon commander, gearing up here to take out Lissos. Lissos is finishing an upgrade. Okay, that'd be nano repair, wasn't showing up, but nano repair now done for Lissos, so gun and nano comm. Which is going to be pretty nice for him, considering his commander is kind of stuck out here on an island, and Chancellor looking to isolate that commander as well. So Tech 1 forces coming in the back door through this little gap in the cliffs, gonna absolutely bulldoze the Tech 1 army that Lissos has there, while Chancellor's commander looking to do a pincer maneuver here on Lissos. If things get hairy, though, Lissos can bail into the water and at least delay, at least until Fong or somebody builds torpedo bombers, or Chancellor could even just walk into the water with his commander and start building torpedoes. We'll see how this shakes out. There are a couple of point defense here, but no Tech 2 point defense. So these should be relatively easy for Chancellor to overcharge down. And Lissos looking like he's going to bail into the water here, as there's not a ton that he can do with his comm to stop this assault. Going to take a couple of hits there from Chancellor. Sorry about the camera movement there. But the one nice thing about Lissos being UEF is he's able to one-shot all of these Aurora Aeon tanks right before he bails into the water here. And Lissos getting a little bit better of an exchange there. Lissos' comm still full HP. Chancellor not in any danger by any means, but has taken some damage on his commander for now. And Lissos probably want to head home, or not. He's gonna rebuild this base. Ballsy move, man. The sauce has the titanium testicles, and Chancellor is not super happy about this. He's gonna start beating into him with his commander. But in a one-on-one comm battle, you got to give the edge here to Lissos, because Chancellor does not have nano upgrade. Lasauce does have nano comm. And so now Chancellor needs to retask all of these Tech 1 units, because Lasauce seems like he just wants to walk him down, or Chancellor needs to just bail into the water here. And or pray that Lasauce doesn't get angry, or he gets tired. But not looking like that's gonna happen. Is Chancellor dead here? Chancellor is most likely dead here. Tech 1 units are coming in. Little bit late though, as it's only gonna take a couple more shots, overcharge, and bam. God damn. That has got to be one of the ballsiest plays I've ever seen. Just going in, knowing that your opponent has superior Tech 1 forces, not caring, and just walking the commander down. Granted, Chancellor could have mitigated that threat by going into the water. So that was both one of the ballsiest moves I've ever seen, and probably one of the biggest panics I've ever seen out of a player, where you just don't think about the fact that there's water here. And that makes sense, because like this is not really a water map at all, but you know, he did see Lasauce go into the water, so it had to have been at least somewhat on his mind. Mochulal with that TML upgrade got 42 kills on that commander. Some of it's probably units as well. You can see him launching those missiles out towards what I'm going to assume is going to be one of Ninrai's Tech 2 mexes. Ninrai, though, got the tactical missile defense online, so not going to be losing those mexes anymore. Mochulal with his commander here, taking a couple of hits from Tech 1 units, but not in any huge danger, as Plasma Cannon's going to be able to help cover his retreat. He does have a parashield. Ninrai with gun speed and Tech 2, actually, so going for a little bit of a combat comm, but does not have the range ability. Meanwhile, Fong here with his own TML upgrade. So he's gone for the exact same upgrade as Mochulal, is now exchanging blows with Estakes. Estakes with that nano upgrade. So again, we have gun upgrade versus gun plus nano, and we just saw that story play out like 1 minute ago. Fong is now retreating once again, except this time he doesn't really have a bunch of units to fall back to. Or no point defense. There's a couple of Ilshivas coming in from Raytheon. So Raytheon now figuring out how to use that futuristic technology, and that might be enough to at least create a little bit of a gap. Estakes tripping over his own units as well. Not going laser focused on the comm anymore. Fong tries to throw out a TML there at Estakes. Estakes is able to dodge it, and Fong walks away just barely with about 2,400 HP left, and is now having to dodge TML or missiles from these mobile missile launchers in the back. Estakes, don't think that TML hit him, but Fong getting really cheeky here, trying to predict TML out of Estakes while dodging shots of his own. Fong making his way back though, 3,100 HP. Estakes should be fine here. Are a couple of Ilshivas that are trailing, but with gun and overcharge shouldn't be any real threat there to that Seraphim battle comm. And little run by here for, well, not really a run by, but an assault from Mochulal with some pillars coming in the north, taking over one of Fong's other forward bases. So Fong's ability to have forward pressure is starting to become a little bit lax. Not really lax, just more difficult, as I'm sure a lot of his attention as well is down here on Chancellor's inherited base and microing the Aeon units. Also starting to see some of the first air engagements here. Fong with the upper hand over Lasauce. Kind of makes sense. We predicted this a little bit. Fong did have the mech's advantage because he stole some money from Raytheon. I mean, I guess, you know, what are you going to expect? You're military defense contractor that's been sucking at the U.S. government's tit for decades. You knew it was going to come back. And these are Nathas coming in after Fong, actually. And Fong going to get taken out behind some of the AA defense. Needed to get a little bit further back. So those are two players that Team 1 does not want to lose. 1,300 and 1,600 level player. Now, so we have Kramer at 1,000 and Ninrai at 1,300. Ninrai is a pretty solid player. Is now operating 2 bases with Raytheon operating 1, and then Kramer pretty much taking the south. So Ninrai dealing with the north, Raytheon doing what he can in the middle, and then Kramer is going to be taking the southern half of the map. No deaths yet for Team 2, but Team 2 does not have the kind of condensed mass, I guess you would say. So if we shift over to mass income, you can see that both of the players with 2 bases up over well over 300 there for Ninrai, closing in on 300 there for Kramer. Whereas the other players, we got 200 and 200 for Lasauce and AFK, which makes sense. But a lot of these other players are at 100 to 150 for Mochulal, Estakes, and Porter 57. Porter 57 has also moved a mobile missile battery forward. He's got a lot of the mobile missile batteries. And mobile missile launchers are great, but you need to pair them with something else. Something that's going to take some of the heat off. Shield also coming in for Lasauce, who has still not moved his commander out of this lower quarter. That is a ballsy move, my man. And we even have a... Why do we have a sub for Raytheon over here? What is Raytheon building? We have engineers, we have a Tech 2 Naval HQ, frigates, and then cruisers. Interesting choice. So this is a meme that you can pull off on some maps. This is not one of those maps, though. The cruiser's range is going to reach right about here. And if you'll notice, there are no enemy buildings in that radius. So that's an interesting tactic. Yeah, not something you want to do. But, I mean, maybe it pays off. Maybe I'm going to eat my words here in 20 minutes. And we have RAS on the way for Raytheon as well. And seems to be focused a lot on Tech 1 spam. Not going to be a huge issue for Estakes to deal with. Do a quick check on air. Ninrai appears to have pretty locked down on air control. Even has some gunships that are bumping around here. Might be going in on Estakes here. Only 3 broadswords. Lasauce's ASF are in the vicinity. Ninrais are out of position right now. So I think those gunships, yeah, they're not going to be able to hit the mark. Doesn't even look like they were going after Estakes commander. Maybe going after Mochulal's commander instead. Probably would have been better to circle them up a little bit around the outside. As our old friend Slim Shady likes to do. Down here in the south, AFK has been a little more quiet this game so far. Seems to be... Okay, so it is working on an Ethoda. Which will help him impact the game a little bit more. And Kramer seems to have gone into full Tech 3 land production with... mostly Harbingers and Bricks, so not really caring which faction to go with. And AFK's commander in not a great position. There's a good amount of Tech 3 units here. He does have first nano upgrade, so, well, it doesn't look like Kramer's actually zeroing in on his position. So Kramer seems to be more interested in going after some of the infrastructure here in the back. So some of these mexes, instead of going after the commander directly. Tech 1 bombers and Tech 2 bombers as well. So we got Janus out from Lasas, and then Tech 1 bombers out from AFK. They'll get cleaned up by Ninrai's Air Force. This push is going to bag a couple of mexes, but I don't think it's going to be the end of the world here for AFK. Might even go after some of these mexes here for Estaquez. As AFK, I'm assuming it just finishes up that Athoda down here. Yeah, we do see that Athoda start walking forward. AFK's comm still on the front line. We'll have Athoda support here in just a second. So what I think Kramer needs to do, Kramer needs to get like a critical mass of Tech 3 units. He needs to get a Megalith or GC or something. Okay, getting a Monkey Lord, that'll definitely help. Monkey Lord won't be able to stand up to the Athoda on its own, but if you got enough Tech 3 units with it, it'll definitely punch pretty hard. On the northern side of the map, Harbs, as well as, no, it's just Harbs it looks like. Out from Ninrai. No shield on those Harbs. Is Ninrai power stalling? Sort of. Nope, he is definitely power stalling. Okay, so Ninrai in a little bit of a power issue right now. Probably not a great time to push with units that have their own built-in shields. Want to be able to shore up at least a little bit of that that power grid before you start relying on shields. And advanced nano repair now coming in for AFK. So that is going to be a very difficult commander to take out, even with Monkey Lords and a lot of Tech 3 units. Still definitely possible. What does AFK's power storage look like? 34,000? Okay, so probably needs a little bit more if he wants to do serious damage with the overcharge against that Monkey Lord, but we'll be able to still dish out a lot of damage with those OCs against that Monkey Lord. And Kramer maybe not waiting for the Monkey Lord, because I think he should. He's going to instead have this little Tech 3 army run into this Athoda. Kramer also seems to be struggling for power here, as none of his Harbs have their shields up. Well, they just popped up again. These Tech 3 units getting pelted from both the ground and sky, and are just kind of streaming in here. The Athoda still looking relatively healthy here. Does have a little bit of ground support from these Othams. I don't think this Athoda, as long as the Athoda actually fires at these bricks. Right now it seems to be getting confused. Its targets keep shifting. So this volume of land units is doing way more damage to the Athoda than it has any right to be doing. Does AFK lose this Athoda? Okay, gets it under his shield. Gets it under his shield, and then, okay, finally the Athoda now gets to go to work here. Should be able to clean up the last of these Tech 3 units, but that is a lot more damage on that Athoda than that number of Tech 3 units had any business in being able to do. We now have even Tech 3 land coming out of Lasas here. We've got Titans coming around the outside, threatening this main base. Well, threatening. I mean, attempting to threaten. About as threatening as a wet tissue thrown by a 2-year-old vaguely in somebody's direction. But Lasas has got other problems that are a little bit more pressing. He's about to get crushed in air. And by about to, I mean is currently getting crushed in air. As Ninrai getting some really good turns here. Also had, I think, about double the ASF in this engagement. So Lasas, the split attention is not working for him here. As he might be trying to just do a little bit too much. He's trying to pressure land. He's losing land. He's trying to pressure air. He's losing air as well. Singular points of focus. Just let AFK do his thing here. In the middle, or in the south. And then you know, maybe hold on to these mexes, but stop trying to throw as many actions per minute into securing that southern side, I think. We do have the push and pull. This has been quite entertaining. The push and pull between Raytheon and Estakes. Every time I check in, it seems like there's a rubber band going from maybe about this defensive line down to here. Estakes not feeling confident enough to push in. Raytheon not feeling confident enough to pursue. So these guys are going to come in. They're going to kill some of these units, some of each other's units, and then they're going to back off and go to their respective corners once again. Ninrai, though, now with shields up on these harbs, this is a pretty formidable force here. Does have to contend with quite a few different triads, as well as a Galactic Colossus out from Porter. So lowest rated player on team number 2, making his presence known here with an experimental on the northern side of the map. Does have a couple of harbs as well, but those are inconsequential. And if he thinks that this GC is going to be able to break through this army of harbingers, he's got another thing coming here. But we'll see the learning happen. It's down on the southern side of the map. Newly minted Athota. It's causing problems, and Kramer, with that Monkey Lord, has ousted Lesauce from the southern portion of the map. Monkey Lord is going to go down, though. So maybe ousted, wrong word, just contesting. GC also taking lots of damage here from these Harbingers. Fat Boy in support. So now the Fat Boy does have the ability to just kind of poke at range. And you don't have to send the GC in, but he's going to anyway. And Broadsword's going entirely over the GC, not caring about the GC, going instead after the obese child, hurling insults on the back line. There are SAMs here in defense there for Mochulal, but should still be able to take out the Fat Boy with the broadsword volume that he has, I think. It's hard to tell how many broadswords. I think we got 3 still in the air. Fat Boy going for shield cover. Okay, never mind. We don't have enough broadswords. Nope, we got one more, but that's not going to be enough. Fat Boy is going to make it under shield cover with critical levels of HP. And Galactic Colossus down at 60% HP. So, at least to save the experimentals. But nothing of value was really lost from either side except for the broadswords. Of which Ninrai has now, it appears, shifted a lot of his air production over to broadswords. Never mind, he shifted one factory, but that factory is heavily assisted over to broadswords. And I take that back. He's just mixing broadswords in with his main fleet. So, is still producing ASF and spy planes, but has also thrown a broadsword into that repeat queue. So, still want to maintain air dominance, which over Lesauce shouldn't be too difficult right now, as Lesauce has, this is his entire air force right here, these 3 ASF, so shouldn't be too terribly difficult to maintain air superiority. But as we're starting to get to 33 minutes into the game, Ninrai with about 600 mass income, would think that he's starting to go for something a little bigger with all that mass. That's a quantum reactor, more air grid stuff here. Has gone for Aeon Tech 3 air as well. And does have a Tsar up. This Tech 2 Naval HQ has built cruisers. So Raytheon was successful there. You guys want to see what I'm talking about with the cruiser range? That outside yellow line is the cruiser range. So this cruiser cannot hit anything consequential, which is unfortunate for the world's favorite defense contractor. Down on the southern side, though, a little bit of a push. AFK could be in danger here if all of these Tech 3 units focus on the commander, but they don't appear to be. as AFK falling back to Tech 2 point defense. And the Ethoda left largely unanswered. This looks like a... That actually looks like a crab that died there, which is quite unfortunate. Crab got a little bit too close to the Ethoda. Kramer seems to be just kind of trickling units in. You gotta get critical mass, bud. 30 bricks and a megalith, and walk them all in together. Be a unified, cohesive fighting force instead of trickling these units in, and I think that you'll be quite happy with the results, and a lot of this is reflected in his KD ratio, which is 0.6. So let that be a lesson, little kids. Make sure you don't stream units in one at a time. I have never streamed in units one at a time, and we have a nuke out from Mochulal. I can't seem to get away from nuclear missile launchers. They seem to follow me everywhere. Hopefully that science video, I haven't published that science video yet, but it should be up before you guys see this video. But going after a couple of Tech 3 mexes, a bunch of land manufacturing. Zoom in for the money shot, get that sweet Cold War era mushroom cloud explosion. I'm sure that's how nukes still look if they were detonated, but, you know, we haven't seen a nuclear detonation in quite some time. Thank God for that. At least above ground. There has been some weapons testing, but I think it's mostly been underground. As Ninrai now comes in with a Tsar, trying to go once again after AFK. AFK up at full health with his comp. Taking a lot of damage from that Tsar. They really want to get AFK away from his keyboard. Smaller Air Force out from Lassos does get a full pass against the Tsar. That's going to deal a lot of damage to it. Tsar going down. AFK survives with 4,000 HP. Oh man, Ninrai's air I think went after like some fighter bombers or something, but out of position lets the inferior Air Force of Lassos get a full pass on that Tsar, and that otherwise that Tsar would have been the end of AFK there. But AFK, the advanced nano repair, putting in work, making him quite survivable. Didn't have that advanced nano repair, would have been a clean kill for sure with that Tsar. But Lassos has once again rebuilt these mexes in the lower corner. It's quite funny. Got Seraphim Tech 1 land, so AFK actually moving in to build more of the manufacturing. Lassos just benefiting. And now we have a Fat Boy as well out from Lassos. So Lassos helping out with his buddies in the ground. I think that the air game is pretty much locked for Ninrai. It's gonna be a mistake of colossal significance for Ninrai to lose his ASF superiority at this point. Like taking a really bad air engagement over a shitload of SAMs. I think the only way that that actually happens. Kramer down in the bottom, dealing with some of AFK's shenanigans. We do have an Ethoda advancing with a Fat Boy. And what is Kramer's answer here? Or Kramar's answer? People are going to become sticklers for pronunciation. Kramar. Which I guess sounds a little bit more elegant than the guy who's always like spazzing out in Seinfeld, but I don't know. Kramer just sounds better than Kramar. But Kramar has got another megalith up and ready. Second one under manufacturing right now. Just needs to condense a lot of his Tech 3 land efforts. I know I've said this a lot, and I'm going to keep saying it, but his units just get spread out. They're able to be pot shots for the Fat Boy, the chicken. An obese child with the chicken, you know? And the Fat Boy here venturing dangerously close to these Tech 3 units. The little seen Gatling guns on the Fat Boy now going into effect here. The Gatling cannons do actually put out some decent damage. But between the Ithoda, as well as the Othams and the Fat Boy's Gatling cannons, not going to be difficult for them to bat aside Kramar's Tech 3 units. So Kramar, he's not in a bad position yet, but it will get pretty dicey if he keeps throwing away units like this. He's got all the manufacturing he needs. He just needs some sort of condensed ball of units. There was a nuke that was launched up here. Going after, I think, a bunch of Harbs. Instead, I think all I got was, if I can go through the clouds of smoke. No, I can't. We're going to have to wait for the smoke to clear. I think it was just some manufacturing up here. There were a couple factories. So Team 2, despite having lost a lot of, well, I mean, they did kill 2 players, but it did seem like they lost a lot of these early engagements, and Team 1 was able to relatively situate themselves the way that they wanted to. Seems like Team 2 is getting the better out of most of these engagements now, as they have Rambo comms running down from Estiquez. But once again, you got, bricks just essentially being hung out here to dry. 5 or 6 bricks is not going to be able to take this down. You need to condense with this, condense on this megalith, man. Just pull all of these units back, get a nice little ball here, then walk them all forward. We have another nuke that is being launched here, except I didn't hear the nuclear launch notification. That may be a bug. I also don't see a nuke. Maybe it's a Billy nuke. Did somebody go for Billy? Tactical nuke. Okay, so Lasauce has gone for tactical nuke, which would mean that Lasauce's comm is somewhere in the vicinity. I thought it was back in base. Okay, there it is. It's on a Continental right now. So he went for that nuke, but probably got shot down somewhere around here. Megalith gonna get brought down by 2 chickens. Kramar saying that he is losing. And now we got 3 chickens and an obese child. An obese child with 3 chickens now on the front line. Raytheon has now shown up on the other side of the map. This is it's a little bit unorganized now from Team 2. I don't think anybody really knows what the plan is. Kramar going to lose a lot of his forward manufacturing abilities from the chickens. Have engineer preset commanders out here, and AFK's comm is still just out here on the front lines. Between Lasauce just walking down Chancellor earlier and AFK just with his comm casually on the front lines while his team does not have air control. Team 2 definitely gets the ballsiest team award. I'm actually seeing this. I do want to talk about this for just 1 second, but I know we said earlier that these cruisers were never going to get to fire at anything. I was entirely mistaken. They will get to fire, and they will mostly miss. So did want to talk about that for a second. Then we'll go back to the southern side of the map where we're seeing most of the action here. And Kramer, I just don't think has a great answer to this. He does have another crab out, but is splitting his crab up from his Tech 1 units again. Billy Nuke are gonna land on some of Kramer's mass. That means Lasauce's commander is once again down here in the lower pond. Again, super ballsy considering he's playing probably 2-1 in ASF. We can count real quick. Ninrai's got 91 Coronas and 300 Wasps. Might even be worse than that. Might even be worse than 2-1. Lasas is at 128. Okay, so yeah, he's playing like 3-1, 4-1 odds. You have a Fat Boy out from Ninrai that's going to be providing support for the Crab. But the Crab is, you know, again, like largely on its own. There's some Tech 3 units here, but a small force of Tech 3 units that Kramer sent forward would be coming in handy right now. It's not. Instead, the Crab's going to have to hold the line against 3 chickens with a Fat Boy in support. So I got a Fat Boy with a Crab and then a Fat Boy with 3 chickens on the other side. The Crab just walking forward, embracing its own doom. Now, Kramer gonna lose his base, and with that, you have everything opened up into Ninrai's primary air manufacturing facilities here. Raytheon does have a presence. Raytheon, though, still making Tech 1 tanks 45 minutes into the game, so, yeah. I guess if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's gonna be Kramer going down to chicken fire. Fat Boy getting run down by a chicken. Some of the sentences that this game makes me say are just too good. I think Ninrai actually going to bow out there, and that's going to leave Raytheon as our last player. So Ninrai not wanting to play this out, seeing the writing on the wall. Good game, though, from both teams. Oh, there was one thing I didn't talk about earlier, but there is an emissary out. I don't think it's shooting at anything. There is also, oh, appears to be a Salvation. I completely missed that. I don't know who built the Salvation. A Salvation was built by Portal 57. So Portal 57, the Salvation, seeing the game ender on the other side of the field. I didn't even see that whenever I screened this replay earlier. So, yep, I can understand why Ninrai wants to bow out there. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the cast. Trying to think if I got anything else to say other than thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.